Well, for this video, I'm going to use this PIPP software, which is free. It stands for Planetary Imaging PreProcessor. And you can do a lot of cool things with it. In this case, I took several pictures of Jupiter over a period of, close to an hour. And I want to show rotation. Now, I'm not going to end up using all of them. I think I'm using like the first 11 or so because I don't know if the atmosphere got bad or if my focus slipped a little bit or what, but the first 10 or 11 look pretty good. So we're on the first tab here, Source Files, and I'm going to go down here and click Add Image Files. And I'm on the videos. Let me, hang on just a sec. Okay, you can run the videos through it too, especially if you want to run them through Registax or whatever. So I've got this. Here are the JPEGs that I created. I processed this in the ZWO ASI Studio, and I'll pause for a second and select the ones I want. Okay, so I got the first 11 of them selected. Click open, and it's going to do join mode, which is normal. And there it gives me a like a sample output frame of what I've got. And then we'll go over here. Let's see, in this case they're JPEGs, so okay. As you can see, there's all kinds of little settings you can play with. I don't think I need to really mess with anything on this page for this particular setup here. If I was doing that, those SCR files, I would want to debayer them. I'll just show you real quick what I would do. I would click debayer and go down here and select the right one, which for my ZWO cameras are RGB. But we won't need that for JPEGs because they've already got their color. And I want to get over here to this frame stabilization mode. I'm in the processing options tab. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm also going to flip it vertically because I think the planet's upside down as far as north and south in these pictures. For frame stabilization, I'm going to select Object Planetary. You can do Surface for the moon. You can do Object Detection, which it'll just detect if there's a planet or whatever in this case. And then here's something that center object in each frame. That's what I need the most for doing this so that it's not jumping around. I'm leaving this part here on none. You can do a bunch of top, left, right, and bottom and all that. I'm not sure what that's about, but I won't need it to center something. And you can enable cropping if you want to, which in this case I'm not changing the size of it. So I'll just leave the overall size of each one the same. Here to quality. I'm not going to estimate because I'm using all of them. This would come in handy if I was running that SCR file, because then I could tell it, well, just keep the best ones and toss the other ones out. And we'll go over here to animation. I'm going to leave it on play all frames in forward order. And then output tab. You can make an AVI, which I found sometimes that plays really fast. I guess you can just see whatever you want. You know, you can output a bunch of PNG frames, but since I'm wanting to make a rotation video, I found this animated GIF, at least on this amount with only 11 frames, is nice. Now, if you have 100 frames or whatever, you may decide you want to play quicker. You just have to decide on your own, I guess, what you like. And I'm going to leave it on loop the frames repeatedly, so I'll just keep replaying. I'm not messing with the frame rate at this moment. Haven't messed with any of this part before. And then on do processing, you see the green line go across. It doesn't mean it's done. We got to go up here and click start, and I'm just going to go ahead and say open the folder when it's done. Click start processing. Should do this pretty quick since it's very few frames. Okay, that was really quick. So now we got a GIF here. Okay, so we got it playing here, and as you can see, in this case, there's just a few frames. That's maybe a half an hour's worth. And real quick, like I'll show you, these are just the original files from the folder. So here's the first JPEG, and as I start arrowing, I'll start doing some rotation. And you can see the planet jumping around, and also, I think this was over the period of a little over an hour. You can see it changed. Like here's the very first one. I didn't change my settings, but some clouds came along. I'm not sure what that artifact there is. I could easily get rid of it. But we go along a little farther. And something I noticed too, after the 11 frames, I guess this one here's the 11th, there's a moon popping out. And of course right now I didn't flip this part vertically like I did the GIF. So it's upside down and rotating the opposite direction. But if you notice on the lower right, the moon's coming out. But then here it starts to get kind of blurry, and that may have been because of thin clouds or something. And then something happens there. It seems like it goes from this bright to darker and a little more distorted. So I think that's got something to do with the weather. Anyway, you can see how the PIPP really helped as far as keeping it from jumping around. And then I can also show you real quick how to process like a video file, we'll say, like one of the SER ones. Okay, so I'm back to add image files. I just clicked that, and now I'm in the folder with the original. These are the .ser video files that I used to make each one of those JPEGs. So I'll go to the very first one. And let's just say, for whatever reason, you've got one that you decide you need to process in something like Registax, and especially, if you want to help get them centered up better, you can crop them. There's a number of things you can do that'll make it easier to process. But this one here mentions that this SER file has a Bayer pattern, and it says, do I want to enable debayering and select the correct Bayer pattern? So I'll say yes. That's what I mentioned earlier. And well, it didn't get rid of all those JPEGs. Let me fix that. I might have to start it over. Okay, looks like I can just select those JPEGs and click remove selected files. And there, now all I'll process is the SER video. And it's got a little bit of the information up there about it. Of course, it has the SER, and it already says RGGB. I think it's because I'd opened it up earlier and selected it, so it remembered it. Tells me I captured 14,530 frames, and it was capturing almost 81 frames per second. That's what that ZWO ASI 178MC camera of mine. And I used region of interest, so instead of using like full resolution at 6 megapixels, I've got it way down to, here it says 448 by 450, so I just base that on how big the planet looks and how easy it is to keep it centered. And you can see this was a year ago too. This was at the previous opposition. So I'm getting ready for this year's opposition for 2024. I've been out a couple times and got some halfway decent pictures. Okay. Now again, go over here to the input, and it's already selected debayer for me, so it remembered it, and it's got the right form there, the RGB for that camera. And I don't think I need to change any of this other stuff. That's part of the intimidating thing about this program, but once you do it a few times and figure out what you need, it's not too bad. I just ignore a lot of other stuff. Let's see. I've never used the filter. I guess you could use a noise filter if you wanted. I'm not going to convert color to monochrome. I'm not too concerned about overexposed pixels. I guess that would be nice, especially if you were taking a picture or something and there was thin clouds coming through, and then all of a sudden clouds got really thin or non-existent, and it kind of blew it out. And I'm not going to worry about that flip vertically right at the minute. But I do want my frame stabilization mode again. And object detection, in case you have a bad frame or two. Definitely want to center each one. And in this case, I'm not too worried about cropping it. If you happen to capture with something really large, large frame size, just to keep it in the frame, that might be nice. I've done it before. Crop it down and it'll make it easier for your next step. Quality options, I am going to do frame estimation. I'm going to tell it, there we go, reorder frames in quality order. So we'll put the best frames first, because since I'm not trying to make a video of this here, I'm just wanting the best frames for processing. And then you can decide how many you want to keep. And let's see, I'll go back to the first tab. I think I had 14,000 frames. And why not? I'll keep about 80% of them, I guess. So figure out what that is. So I had about 14,000 frames times 0.8. I'll keep about 11,200. I'll just add another one in there. I'm just going to go with the default algorithm. I guess you can test a lot of different ones if you decide you like different ones. Enable quality weight. Not sure. I'm not going to mess with that right now. I'm not worried about playing them in forward order, because I want them to be in order of the best. That I'm going to, let's say I'm going to process it in Registacks. I'm going to go ahead and just make them TIFFs. That way I can play with them a little more when I process them. That gives me a little larger file size than if I went down to a JPEG or a PNG or something. And set down there where it gets saved. I've just got it kind of that's standard thing where it puts another folder in the same area where your pictures are. Over do processing. This one may take longer. I'll pause. And that went fairly quick. Now it's going to sort them in order. Okay, that took a minute or two. So now, okay, so it's giving me, it just made a PIPP folder in the same folder that the pictures were in. And it makes one little folder with a bunch of logs just explaining what it did for each one. And look at there, I got 12 gigabytes of TIFF files. So I guess that's always something to consider if you got a zillion of them, if you have enough room. So there's a raw one. But then now they should be lined up. Yeah, I'm just going one after the other. I'm using the cursor. And the main movement you see there is actually the atmosphere. Notice the ball, the planet Jupiter, is not really jumping around side to side, so it did a pretty nice job of that. Anyway, hopefully that gives you an idea of what this program can do for you. It Actually can do a lot of neat things.